It was the 13th of November. The ground was starting to get covered in white snow. Lucy Duck was watching out of her room's windows and admired the snowfall. Lucy was born into a wealthy family. She was followed and raised with a high sense of responsibility. Despite this, Lucy was still a youthful and bit careless girl. She has been living a sheltered life since his father started the new carpentry workshop for the countryside's village where she lived. Lucia thought that her father was completely consumed by the workshop, and she locked up to her room without any explicit reason other than just to protest his father's time management and no longer paying as much attention to his family as he used to. In the midst of the dark room, Lucia had a wine-red shirt and a pink dress. The colors were melting together in the dress. Lucia herself had a pale and white skin, and she had a long brown hair. Not long until Lucia heard a voice of his father in the house's entrance. Lucia thought that he was just bruising for himself about his achievements, until the voice of someone else, who was a lot younger than her father, started to speak. That was not an adult's voice, she thought. She thought to herself. Not long after, the door of the room opened, and to Lucia's surprise, it was not her father, Roderick, who opened the door. It was someone completely unknown to her. A boy, approximately 16 or 15 years old, stepped into Lucia's room, and his fetus started to unravel. The boy had a gray shirt and black trousers, and his time shined through his eyes, and he had a scratch in his cheek. The boy's arms were muscular, and his hands were as large as bear's paws. The boy said to Lucia in order to break the silence and tension, "Please apologize for my clothing. We came right here after work, so I didn't have any chances to change them." Lucia got confused by this boy, his presence, but then she got an idea who this boy could be, so she asked the following. "Are you the boy who the locals have rumored about my father using child labor?" The boy brushed it off immediately. "I have worked for Mr. Duck almost my entirety of my life. It has been at my free will to bring jobs to our village, at my right and at my will." Lucia started to laugh a little bit because of the boy's serious attitude. "What are you laughing at?" the boy asked, while sounding frustrated and almost a bit frightened. "You, so adult for your age." "What?" "Well, might make sense. You have been working with adults for how long, after all? This is not time to make fun. How else are people supposed to speak to each other? And what do you mean, for my age? Miss Duck You might be older than me, a year or two at least." Why so serious? Why Roderick even took you here? Exactly. To teach you some manners? No. Mr. Dark has already taught me a lot about them. He took me here because of you. Is it true that you have sheltered yourself from the outside world and refuse to even talk to your own father?" Now Lucia's attitude saw a change. It turned from light-hearted and calm to more distressed and a bit ashamed for her actions. Yes, I'm not a good daughter for not trying to tell my father how I feel. But he won't pay me any attention. He just keeps bragging about his business and nothing else. But why you just locked up all of a sudden? that if something could get boring and sound something only a 5-year-old would do, Theodore responded in a very mean tone. Hey, father was the one who started this, Lucia lashed out. Let's start over, and I shall explain why I am here. Your father wished to start a workshop here to create jobs for the poorest farmers who didn't have enough land to feed their family or themselves. I joined the building process because I didn't have anything else to do here. Your father, Roderick, looked after me a while I was still learning everything, and he even paid explicit attention so that I could enjoy warm meals with all the other builders and carpenters. After we started to get along and got to know ourselves a bit better, I was presented with a choice. To my understanding, Roderick feels like you left him because every time he tried to tell you about something, you just stood there quietly without any reaction to anything. And here I came in. Roderick asked for me. Am I volunteer to try get you open up if someone outside of the family could get you speak for more? Theodore started to explain. Because I got to hear everything he just thought about the workshop. And I had to hear those same thoughts again and again. Because he thought you were not listening, miss. You didn't even respond to any of your father's words, even if Roderick is to be believed. When Lucia heard that, it all started to make a bit sense for her. She understood that a workshop was a big thing, but she was born into a richer family than the average villager. Everything was so much easier for the Dark family, and they owned almost 1/4 of the farmland. 1/4 of the farmland from the village. So she had no idea how hard some small landowner's life was without a reliable source of income. Her lack of investment for the project caused Roderick, her father, to believe that she had no investment to anything when he was speaking. And when Mr. Dark asked me, someone outside the family, to try and get you open up, I understood it the way that you, miss, didn't even want to talk about anything. And he turned out to be correct, if I am concerned. Lucia started to look down, a bit in shame and regret. You're right, where Dad is right now. Just walk the stairs down. Now I am a bit interested why you didn't feel anything about the workshop project. It is fascinating for me. Theodore tried to ask from Lucia, but she answered to this question with a depressed tone. What if we talk about it with father? And that had nothing to do with Theodore's previous question. She walked out of her room and moved the stairs down. Lucia entered the dining room of her house, and her father was there preparing the meal after work. Oh, you managed to open up a little and talk into someone completely unknown. Asked Roderick Richard Dark, Lucia's father. Roderick's daughter responded, I'm sorry. I thought that you were the one not paying attention, but I didn't even why you didn't say anything. I thought you were not interested at all in anything due to your lifelessness. And I was suddenly get worried. I know it now. I'm the boy you brought here. Theodore walked into the dining room, and Lucia immediately asked from him, I didn't hear your name. Oh, yes. I am Theodore Trevor, from the northern side of the village, Theodore responded. Thank yourself. I get why you took the project the way you did, and I apologize. Lucia said, and started to walk towards her father and hugged him. Now that you finally understand it, all I wanted is to get you open up again. Thank you, Theodore, for your help. Lucia, I got you back, and that is something I am very happy. Lord Roderick responded and hugged his daughter back. And Theodore, would you like to stay here for a dinner? Roderick asked from Theodore. No, I have my own business during the evening. I'd like to stay, but Julius called me back home. If you'd excuse me, bye-bye. Have a nice evening, Mr. and Miss Dark. Theodore said and waited for Roderick's answer before he was going to leave the house. Goodbye. And thank yourself for making me understand how important things are in this village. Lucia said back to him, still giving in with her slight distaste and with childishness. Roderick just raised his arm, and so the tensions were gone for that evening. Theodore left the Dark's household, and Darks themselves stayed in the house and started to prepare the dinner again. That is why he wanted me to come here. I didn't expect anyone's child to act like that. Indeed fascinating. What if I'd asked more from Mr. Dark in work? Now get back to this moment. Theodore thought to himself while he was walking back home. Despite the weather being cold, snowy, dark, and slippery, Theodore was more than pleased by it. Because of his hobby, or to his calling, lifestyle, could probably start now. The road Theodore walked was very long, dark, and lonely. But he had gotten used to that feeling. It felt almost just like home to him. What didn't feel so good was Theodore's tired body. Since the day had started, it was clear that a rougher time will emerge. Days in the workshop, lifting big and heavy planks and logs around the storage, woodwork that required precision, and the front yard, or the workshop that had to be shoveled open. The day's work still wasn't done, though. But Theodore was not flinched by the slightest. It was just the beginning of another winter. A winter with a big change to his life. But still at this point, just another winter. When Theodore finally arrived to his home, his mother, Elvira Evie Trevor, was waiting for him to help shoveling the front yard open. Elvira was already an old and crippled woman, over 50 years old, and severely weakened by her age. So most of the household's work was made by Theodore. The host of the family, Simon Trevor, had already departed. Simon and Elvira got married together already in exceptionally old age compared to everyone else in the village. So their son had to be the real host very much from birth. Well, Simon's death was a severe step back for the Trevor family, but giving up was not a choice, especially for Theodore. Luckily, the Trevor's front yard was nowhere near as large as the workshops, so it was done way faster than expected. Elvira still lamented about her back and shoulders not being able to stand the pressure. Theodore was astonished by the looks of the Dark's villa they had, compared to a merely small hut with outdoor storages that was the Trevor's household. One of the storages was still incomplete, and Theodore swore to himself that one day he will build it ready in order to revenge Simon's death. But this was not that day. After the remaining Trevor stepped into the house, Theodore immediately went to the storage room, grabbed the weapon closet's keys, grabbed a shotgun from there, and his hunting clothes, and went back to the house's entrance. I'll be back at least 8 o'clock. Bye, Theodore said to his mother, and stepped back into the darkness. Theodore's mother, Elvira, stayed in the house and started to prepare some food for the evening. She thought that Theodore has gotten way too eager about everything after his father's departure. You are not invincible. Without discipline you will fail at everything, because there is no one who can teach you, she yelled at her son. Even she knew that Theodore didn't hear any of those words she said. She still tried. Back in the forest, Theodore walked towards their own farmlands. The travelers had a dirt road that went through the forest into the biggest farmland. Theodore knew that little game, such as his, didn't move a lot when the ground was covered in new snow. So, he just had to find some footprints from the surface, then follow them until a hare would get on his way, and take it. Despite the lack of daylight, moon provided enough shining light for the hunter in the dark winter night. Theodore found some footsteps on the field, and, as guessed, he started to follow them. Not long, about 200 meters, Theodore had walked through the entire field, and there it was. The situation began. Right when the field was turning into forest, a hare jumped out of Theodore's legs and ran towards the forest. Theodore, of course, acted fast and raised his gun to scope the target, took some forehand, and pulled the trigger. This time, it was a bad shot. The rabbit fell on the ground, but it was severely wounded, not lethally. Theodore caught it up and snapped its neck to end its life. Because the hunter's low energy at the moment, he decided to end the day there and returned home. Back in home, Theodore took the hare's skin off and hanged the corpse. The young hunter walked from the cold yard to the traveler's household, where Elvira was expecting her son to appear to eat something before bed. Oh, did you get any game this time? Why you try so much to impress anyone? Always there and always here. Why you don't want me to bring glory to our family? Mother, I want you to have a capable and experienced son. And besides, I am bringing this small village back on the map. I can manage. I really do. And I have people who I can rely on. Yes, I am proud of your devotion, but what if you share the same fate with Simon? You're doing as much as he did, even more. Always trying to impress everyone with everything. Always trying new limits, and then he tried to build the new. Nonsense. It was merely a bad luck. And I told you, I can manage. And I have people around me who know about building and economics. And I can rely on them. Simon was a good father. And I miss him as much as you do. But we have to move on. I agree. You're stuck in your routines, even when we have other important matters as well. Our own matters. What? I'm bringing money and beef to this house. We can't live with just a few funny hectares of farmland and forests we have. Nor do we have any reliable source of income. And thanks to the workshop, if the village has something to build with volunteers, we can use it as well. That is what I meant. You're focusing on everyone else's needs, and you forget to take care of your own land. This is about us. Life is about yourself. Together we could have farmed our land even to this day before snow. And I, an old woman, can't do impossibilities anymore. We can have more bread and porridge than you have ever seen. But you decided to hunt around this year and start work for someone else and leave me here to this mere hut. Theodore was getting tired of Elvira's self-centered view on life. He also couldn't stand Elvira's distrust to everyone around him. A human can only see everyone around itself act the way it would, Theodore always thought to himself. But he didn't want to talk about the workshop because similarly, Elvira seemed to have similar interest to it, just like Lucia. At first, they didn't even try to listen. Talk about grains then, but I believe you have to admit that we're not straw men who live only with grains and rye. I have brought kilos of meat to this household every week, and I chop our wood and take care of our forest just like Simon. I take care of ourselves, but also of others. And you gave the results of your work to your boss? Elvira asked in a very mean way. Have you listened at all what I have been trying to say? Theodore responded back. He wanted to argue even more, but after the day was over, he was just waiting bedtime. Even Elvira's meal was completely tasteless when he was just tired enough. Elvira still kept arguing back, but Theodore really didn't want to even answer them. Despite the not so happy atmosphere in the table, Theodore still thanked his mother, went to the shower, brushed his teeth, and wished good night for Elvira, and went to sleep. The day was over, and a new was emerging. Theodore had some questions left from his visit to the dogs, but they could wait for now. And even the snowfall had stopped, so tomorrow could start with lesser burden. And Theodore had more time to hunt. And something Theodore didn't even consider. The next day was the 1st of December, and the wait for Christmas could begin. To be continued.